This video is to help explain what we're going to be doing with a kaleidoscope drawing project. So when you think about a kaleidoscope and the designs that you see when you look inside of one, you'll notice that there are reflections all over the place. A kaleidoscope has mirrors in it and beads or various types of jewels and things like that. And those would be reflected in the mirrors, and so you would see multiples of them at various angles. We are going to create a simple kaleidoscope drawing using a circle and the idea of reflecting shapes over one part of a circle into another. Okay. So here's an example of what a kaleidoscope drawing may end up looking like. So in our kaleidoscope drawing, we're going to have 6 sections, like 6 pieces of the pie. Each section needs to have at least 5 shapes in it. The shapes don't have to necessarily be your standard shapes like you see here, a diamond and a trapezoid, a cross and a semicircle. They don't necessarily have to be your standard shapes. They can be just other designs. They could be something you use some stencils for, but you do want to be careful. Don't make it overly complicated. But what I'm going to show you is, first of all, how do we start out by making our circle, and then once you've got your circle, being able to take a shape in that circle or in one section of the circle and reflect it over one of your lines of reflection into another section. So the first thing is we're going to start with a circle. And you can just use your compass. You could trace something on a large piece of paper. Or again, if you use your compass, the nice thing about that is that you'll get a dot in the center of the circle. So I have a dot right here in the center. And I want to start by lining up a ruler with that dot in the center that's going to hit both sides of my circle. So I've just divided my circle in half. It goes through the center point, hits both sides, top and bottom of the circle. Now the next thing that I want to do is I want to divide this into 6 slices. Okay, so I need to think about 6 central angles all the way around. Now what we know about a circle is that a circle has 360 degrees. If I want to divide that into 6 central angles, I'm going to take 360 divided by 6, which is going to tell me that each of my central angles needs to be 60 degrees. So I'm going to line up my protractor, and the center, the little circle, the little open, whatever you want to call that, the open dot there, in the center of my protractor, I'm going to line that up with the center of my circle, and the line right here on the protractor, I line that up with the line that I just drew into my circle. Now I'm going to look for 60 degrees and make a mark, and I'm going to go another 60 degrees to 120 and make a mark right there. Once I've got those 2 marks, I can use my ruler, again lining it up with the mark that I just made and my center points. Once I've got those lined up, I'm going to draw in that line. And the same thing over here. Line up where I made that 60 degree mark and my center points. And draw that line in. So now I've got the 6 slices, the 6 pieces of my circle. So what I'm going to do now is pick one section to start with. Just one section. Don't start in all the sections all at the same time, just one section to start with. And I'm going to make some sort of a shape. Okay? You can make anything. You can make a triangle, you can make a square, you can even just make a line. Okay? If I just wanted to make a line like this, okay, if I want to make a line right there, and then I want to reflect that line over this line of reflection. So I'm going to take a look at where is this line going to be if I reflect it over this line of reflection? So if you remember what we talked about earlier, the chapter 1 examples, I'm going to take a look at, okay, I want to be able to take this point that's on my circle, consider a line that would be perpendicular to my line of reflection, and go the same distance to the other side. Okay, so I want to take a look at this. I'm going to line up my note card here that gives me that nice right angle. I know my point is right here. I'm going to make a mark on my note card where that point is, and it's going to go in this direction. So I'm going to continue it in this direction and go the same distance to the other side. Just going to put me right there. Okay. And I'm going to line up my ruler and connect the dots. So I've just reflected this line segment over the line of reflection, and it kind of creates a bit of a triangle. Okay. Now if I wanted to take this line segment again and reflect it over this line of reflection, okay, notice how far it is from this line of reflection. So it's going to be far, the image of that is going to be far on the other side of the line of reflection. So you want to continue to fill up your original section with various types of shapes, line segments. You can again use a stencil, you can just use your imagination. And one at a time you'll reflect those shapes over into the next section. And once you have that next section filled up, reflect those shapes into the next section. Okay, and it's just going to be a reflection of the shapes here over this line of symmetry into this next section here. And you're going to keep doing that over the next line of symmetry, over the next line of symmetry, and over the next line of symmetry until your whole circle is filled in. So some examples of what this might look like at the end. Here's an example of somebody who did this. They've got the 6 sections, and they used some stencils for the purple flowers, but you can see that each section had heart, circle, a yellow square, a green square, blue triangle, and you've got the purple flower. And they would reflect this over the line of symmetry, and then reflect that, and once they filled that in, reflect those over the next line of symmetry. So you notice that, for example, this yellow square, when the yellow square is close to the line of symmetry, its image will be close to the line of symmetry. Now when we filled in this section here and we're ready to reflect over this line of symmetry here, notice that the yellow square is far from this line of symmetry, so its image will be far from this line of symmetry. So again, fill in one section, and one at a time you're going to reflect those shapes from one part of your circle into another. Here's another example. And the student who did this one didn't just stick with traditional shapes, squares and circles and triangles and that sort of thing, but instead they made several different kind of spiky geometrical patterns, and then as they reflected those, it created this very cool looking flower design. So you can also do something like that. We've got one more example. This one used 8 sections instead of the 6 sections like what I've shown you. So they had 8 lines of symmetry, or 8 sections where they were reflecting their shapes over. And you can see we've got some like wavy lines. We've just got some things that end up looking like a single flower petal, but then when you reflect them over each of the different areas, it ends up making it look like a whole flower. We've got various designs like that. So you can be as creative as you'd like to on yours. Again, you can use some of the more traditional types of shapes, you can use stencils, or you can get creative and just use some geometrical designs and that sort of thing. Now, If you've started to make your design and you decide, I don't like the way that this is turning out, or I made a mistake and I can't fix it, I can't make it right again, I want to start over. Take a plain sheet of computer paper. Use a compass or something that you can trace that will take up most of the sheet of paper. Okay, gotta go most of the way across. Make your circle. Find the center of the circle. Draw your line in again using a ruler. Take the protractor, measure 60 degrees, another 60 degrees, 60 degrees. Draw those lines in so you can continue to work on a new project. Make a new circle if you've made the mistakes and want to go back and start over.